guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a documentary from France. This is spoken in the English language with English dub over the French parts. Released in the year 2007, directed by Laurent Corot, and this film is called Vampyres. So Vampyres is Laurent's project where he delves into the subculture of vampirism. So he interviews people who are into this subculture, and he starts to piece together the history behind vampirism and how it's so strong today. And so kind of like the gothic scene, except now the vampirism scene is seen to be the newer one. And so we go into this world, and it's a very extreme world, and it's a world that will take you by surprise. And so what it is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Vampyres. I had this movie in my collection for a very long time, but I just never got around to seeing it. So when I finally gave this movie a chance, my expectations were that it was going to be very interesting. The subculture of vampirism. Subcultures are interesting in themselves, whether it's the goth scene, whether it's furry scene, when people dress up as animals, because these subcultures is always giving you an insight into the person's mentality, whether they're ostracized from society and they've found somewhere that they can really connect to. Subcultures are very important, and so whether you like being a furry or a goth, or in this case a vampire, then it's always something that I want to know more about, so you respect that culture. And so I was hoping that Laurent Corot was actually going to give you a very respectful insight into a very mysterious subcultural world. And I will say that the movie is very extreme, it is very interesting, but unfortunately it's one of the most poorly constructed documentaries that I've seen in a very long time. This is very amateurish because it definitely does not know what it wants to be. Does this want to be a movie that's going to look inside the subculture in a respectful way? Is this a movie that's trying to make you believe that vampires are real, or is this a movie that's just making fun of it? And so the whole film just doesn't have any evidence to back up anything that it suggests. The movie doesn't want to go into the depths of what makes a documentary interesting. It's just like looking at a freak show. It's showing you one extreme scene after another, and these people who are deemed as weirdos by the outside, but on the inside I wanted to know more about these people. I wanted to know more than what I was seeing on face value, but the director never gives you an opportunity. So it's almost like he is mocking this world. He's making you look at strange individuals that appear strange, but are they strange on the inside? But we never get that insight, and so I never felt as though this movie knew what it wanted to be. There were moments that actually suggested that the history of vampires was real. Okay, is this an insight into what you're trying to suggest is that vampires existed, but where's the evidence? There's no evidence to suggest that, because it doesn't want to go into that. And you've got the idea of the subculture. Now, some of the people he interviews are telling him about why they're in this subculture, because it allows them to be their true selves. And I thought, alright, well that's very interesting, but that contradicts everything that the director is trying to do. When he's telling you that vampires are real, you're interviewing someone that just told you they don't believe in it, is that the subculture is for something completely different. So it's a contradiction of terms. Basically everything is contradicting each other, and so you never really get a coherent film. You just get a very confusing look at what is a very mysterious subculture, but I felt as though it was making fun of that subculture. And so that to me is the biggest issue that this movie has. It just doesn't know how to be a documentary. And so I didn't know what the director was trying to do, therefore there's a lot of confusion, and I never felt as though my interests were rewarded. I never felt as though the movie made any attempt whatsoever to actually give you an insight into these people. And these people are often the most interesting people out there, because they are different, but unfortunately the difference is never executed in a way that I actually felt as though I was rewarded for watching. I felt guilty for watching, because I always felt as though the director was making fun of these people. And because you see a strange individual, whether it's piercings everywhere or tattoos everywhere, you think, okay, well that person looks different. I want to know that person as an individual, but unfortunately the director just doesn't allow that. So it's almost like he's mocking them. It's almost like creating a freak show and saying, haha, look at these guys, they're different. But I thought as though, alright, well why don't you respect this world? This world, they're real human beings. Yes, they may look different, but more often than not, these are more interesting and better people than what we deem as normal. And so I thought as though this movie had a lot of aspects to explore, but it just doesn't want to do it because it's very, very immature. So it is a very low budget documentary, which is no issue, because I actually thought as though it was fairly well shot for the money it had. But the director says that it took a long time to build this documentary, but it just doesn't have any evidence of any hard work. So it's just like a face value sort of film where I felt very empty and I was none the wiser when it comes to this very interesting subculture. And so vampirism, what is it? Is it something that allows these people to be their true selves, brings out their inner beast? Or is this a movie that's trying to give you the impression that vampires are real, but again, it just doesn't throw any evidence to suggest that? Now, I'm all respectful to people's beliefs, whether you believe in vampirism or I'm not going to criticise that, but if you're going to say it's real and the history of vampires are real, throw out some evidence. There's just none to it. And so the movie wants to make you believe and the movie wants to make you feel interested, but it's not willing to do the hard work. And so it's almost like doing a test without doing any homework at school. You're not going to do so well, but you want to give the impression that you are, but unfortunately it's hard work that makes a film good or bad. And unfortunately in this case the hard work just doesn't want to be done. It's a very amateurish feeling that the film has, and none of the interest was capitalised upon whatsoever. So it takes some fairly extreme scenes. There's some graphic scenes of self-mutilation in ways that made me feel very uncomfortable, vampire rituals. But again, all of that extreme stuff just felt like it was thrown in there just to shock an audience on a very shallow value. There's a lot of superficial qualities. It's got the emotional depth of a puddle, and it's definitely not coming recommended. So if you want to see a movie about a subculture without making fun of it, then this movie is definitely not for you. I'm going to give Vampires 1 star. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.